Hey guys, and welcome to this video on the moon in the 8th house in astrology. I'm Cassandra, the Saffron Sage, helping you use astrology to evolve. And in this video, we're talking about the moon in the 8th house. So the first thing to say here is that the 8th house is complex. So if your moon is here, then your emotional nature is going to be complex. And the 8th house represents a lot of things. It represents intimacy. It represents transformation. There's an aspect of the 8th house that represents the unseen, like the other side, the occult. Deep intimacy, very, very deep transformation. So with the moon here, you may naturally be into psychology. You could have a natural or innate sense of other people's psychology and be able to really understand their motivations, the hidden motivations of other people, just naturally. You could also be naturally psychic with this placement. Whether you allow that or develop that is up to you, but with this placement, the moon especially here, there is a natural ability to, get messages from the other side and really use any kind of psychic ability that's focused on going beyond the veil. Psychic perception is really what I would say lands in this house with the moon here. The moon represents our emotional nature, what we need to be okay. So for people with the moon in this house, it's complex because the 8th house is sometimes taboo topics, darker topics of life. Some people with placements like this will want to work in a morgue. They'll just be interested or drawn to more dark topics, more occult topics, anything that's unseen, things that other people don't want to look at. This includes sex work, this includes psychic work, this includes death or rebirth of any form. And you may not be interested in all of those things, but with the moon here, you're most likely to be interested in at least one. That this need to go beyond the surface will show up in one of those ways. The 8th house also represents other people's money. So that can fall under things like being an accountant, where your job is to manage and help other people with their resources, to something like getting an inheritance or having a spouse who makes a lot of money or having some kind of dealings with your partner's money. Estates, taxes, things like that fall under this house as well. That doesn't mean you have to deal with this stuff if your moon is here, but it's one way it could express itself. If your moon is in the 8th house, you might need to make sure that you're around good people a little bit more than the average person because you have this ability to connect so deeply. Sometimes people with this placement will have this ability to help other people heal their unexpressed wounds. And you may know you're doing this, you may not know you're doing this, but because you have this depth, this depth with your own soul, it's like it unconsciously gives the people around you a chance to go that deep with themselves too. However, warning, they might not like it. They might not understand it. They might not know it's happening, and they might not like you for it. How to learn how to deal with this in a responsible way is beyond the scope of this video. Since the 8th house rules investments, other people's money, taxes, and the moon rules our emotions, there can be an emotional connection to other people's money. There can be an emotional connection to security from investments or security from inheritance. So that could show up as an actual interest in the stock market or other types of investing. Or it could show up as just those themes being present in your life at some point. Another thing about the 8th house, having your moon here, is that for people with 8th house placements in general, especially with the moon, you need a certain level of transformation to be okay, because the 8th house rules what we don't see, what we repress, what we hide, what other people hide. Having a planet here is like bringing some of those hidden things to the surface. So with the moon here, you may find that you get a lot out of doing work on yourself to illuminate your own unconscious wounds and to heal those. You may find that type of shadow work to be very, very cleansing and powerful. Another theme of the 8th house is transformation, death can be a part of this. I want to address this because just because you have your moon here doesn't mean everyone's going to die, but it can mean that you have experienced more death in your life than the average person does. Either a death when you were young that shaped you in some way, or losing something of some kind. Now, I don't want to scare anyone watching this video, but if you have your moon in the 8th house and you have experienced great losses in your life, the thing to know here is that there's something about having 8th house placements. You're able to rise from the ashes of that transformation in a certain way. And as challenging as it might be to have more loss than the average person, to have more transformation, to have more possibly even trauma than the average person, there is also a greater potential to regenerate from those problems and heal yourself and others, to really transform. I really think of the phoenix rising from the ashes when we're talking about the kinds of problems or losses that can come for someone with 8th house placements. Again, this does not mean everyone you know is going to die. It could be that your friends have more death in their life than normal, and they come to you expecting help, and you're able to help them because you have your moon here and you understand transformation. And so there is an ability to regenerate here. There is an ability to recoup from your losses. So it doesn't mean bad things have to happen if you have your moon here, but if you have your moon here and bad things have happened, then know you have the ability to shift and to use those bad things as fuel. You can eat traumatic experiences for breakfast if you have planets in the 8th or planets in Scorpio. So just know that you are probably more powerful than you realize. So facing the truth about yourself, about any unconscious motivations or any unexpressed emotions, things like that, can be very empowering for someone with their moon in the 8th house. And you may find you almost have an addiction to that, or you almost thrive off of that next layer of transformation, that next layer of growth. So let me know, you guys, in the comments below if you related to this, if it made sense to you. I love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to check out the Moon Through the Signs series that I did, and I will see you all in the next video.